Hey, what's up guys? My name is the Cherno. Welcome to 2020. So, it's the start of a new year, and one of the things that I really like to do at the beginning of pretty much every year is sit down and plan what it is I'm going to do this year. And since my full-time job and career at the moment is YouTube, I guess that means that we're going to sit down and talk about, me and you, what we're going to do this year. Because there's a lot of stuff going on my channel. There's a lot of issues and things that I don't like the way that they are going, and then there's also obviously a lot of really cool stuff that I'm really excited to actually do. So what I've done is created this kind of list here of things that I want to discuss with you guys, but I want to emphasize the fact that I'm discussing it with you guys. You guys are the supporters of this channel, you're the viewers, you're the audience that I make these videos for. Whilst I do make videos that try to include as wide of an audience as possible, you people that are subscribed to this channel and the people who are watching these videos, you're the reason why I make these videos in the first place. And if I'm making something that you're not interested in, or if you think I could do a better job, then I'm all ears. I'm here to kind of improve. I'm still new to kind of doing YouTube as a full-time job, and there's obviously a billion things that I really want to do that I haven't had the chance to get to just yet, but in general, I kind of need your help. So I almost see this as a bit of like a performance review, not really like a performance review. Let's not go all corporate on this. Like, I don't want that. Had enough of that. But just like in general, you know, what would you like to see on this channel? What do you think that I haven't done that you want me to do? Let's kind of talk about that, and that's what the comments or the comment section below is actually for. It'd be funny if I just disable all comments for this video, eh? So there are 3 different parts to my channel, and I do maybe want to include more, but at the moment, as like the way that this stands right now, what is the Cherno project? What is this channel on YouTube? You know, we have the Game Engine series first and foremost. That's probably the most important series on my channel. It's the thing that I think most of you are here for. I know there's also a huge amount of people that are here for like just C++, nothing to do with games at all. But the Game Engine series is kind of like the project that we're working on right now. We're building a game engine called Hazel. So the way that that's going, I mean, there's 2 kind of ways that I see that. There's the personal development that I actually do for that. So in other words, what I actually do is I develop Hazel in my own time, and then that's actually available on a development branch for patrons. That's kind of the meat of the engine. That's in a way, I think, where the engine is heading towards, because that development that I do offline is really important, because I then take what I've written and I convert it into a format that I can actually present in a video in like a tutorial format, which is kind of what the Game Engine series on YouTube actually is. So there's that. But then, apart from us kind of building this game engine, which we are doing kind of slowly, because there's a lot of concepts that I want to cover, there's a lot of things I want to do, and also sometimes it's very difficult for me to kind of adequately split the time between me wanting to jam in all these exciting features and actually develop stuff for the Game Engine development branch, right, for the Hazel development branch, and then also convert stuff into a video format for you guys. Because the thing that I think most people don't realize is that I'm a software engineer and I'm not working for a company right now, I'm working for myself. So if I'm just spending all of my time, you know, making videos on how to draw 2D graphics on the screen, for example, which is where we're up to in the Game Engine series, which is fine, by the way, I'm not complaining, then I'm just not going to experience any kind of, you know, personal growth, and it's just going to be not really, it's going to be a little bit wasted on me. I mean, it's not completely wasted, but you know, I need that balance of actually developing stuff that is new to me or learning new things. And without that, it kind of stunts my growth a little bit as a software engineer and as someone kind of interested in game engines. So that's kind of, you know, it's always a challenge to kind of manage my time by myself since I'm new to that. And I might make some videos talking about how on earth to do that, and kind of the lessons that I've learned in the last half year or so of doing this full time. Let me know what you think about that, because my plan as well for this year is to probably try and include more videos that aren't just completely 100% about, you know, programming. So that's kind of the idea though. It's always a balancing game of like, well, okay, do I work on Hazel Dev and do I kind of do stuff that I'm interested in, or do I kind of sit down and try and make this kind of tutorial series? And obviously, you know, I have to do both. It's not like, and I want to do both. The reason I'm doing this Game Engine series is because I really want to. But yeah, sometimes it becomes a little bit of a challenge. So I am aware that like the Game Engine series maybe is progressing a little bit slowly. I want to fix that. And one of the ways that I'm going to fix that actually is the reason why I think it's a little bit difficult to make videos sometimes for that is because there are enormous concepts in that series. I mean, I'm sure everyone's aware of that. Like, some of the things that we need to eventually do are huge. They're not going to be done in one video. They're not going to be done in like a reasonable amount of time. Videos end up going to 45 minutes long because I have a lot to say and I want to get it all down. So what I want to do is involve the OpenGL series in that. And in fact, I want to do more standalone videos. What I mean by that is, I don't want, this is a really good example. We're up to batch rendering in the game engine series. We need to make a video in which we implement batch rendering. So in other words, basically batching 2D quads together into a single draw call instead of actually, drawing each quad separately as a separate draw. That's not the most complicated of concepts, but it's also not simple. And to explain it as well to people who do not know what it is, right? I'm aware that a lot of you people watching this series know what that is, and you're on a higher level than many others. But for someone who doesn't know what batch rendering is, what on earth is going on there? How do we do this? This doesn't make sense to me. How do we control this? How do we control that? How does it work? That requires kind of sitting down and drawing some diagrams and probably talking about, well, this is why this is good, this is why this is bad, this is why we don't want this is how we can do this, these are the kind of consequences of doing it this way, but in other words, it helps us here or whatever. To sit down and do that in a good way, that takes time, and I don't want that to just be like, okay, Game Engine Series episode 60, batch rendering. That is not the kind of education that is going to help someone who is new to this, because the game engine itself, Hazel, whilst it is still like comparatively quite a simple code base, it's still a lot more than many people are used to. And just like if I was to take, say, Unreal Engine and then try to put in a level generation system, that would be a lot more complicated than if I had my own engine, or if I had a completely blank sandbox kind of canvas, whatever, and then I wanted to test out some like Perlin noise, level generation, for example, that was part of the actual engine, not like just a script, That is kind of what we're dealing with here, where to someone to kind of be like, okay, well, this is batch rendering, hey, watch me jam it into this engine that has like a lot of other things. That's not ideal at all. And so what I want to do is, in fact, what I have done, and there'll be a video probably coming out next week, hopefully, is I've made a very bare bones base OpenGL library that was inspired, well, it's very much inspired by Hazel, so it's got some of Hazel's systems, like the layers and the event system, for example, but that's pretty much it. What it is just a very basic OpenGL library that lets you just write OpenGL code in your main application, and that's pretty much it. So it's really simple. If I want to, for example, oh cool, there's I want to test out OpenGL uniform buffers. Yeah, I don't want to set up like this whole OpenGL thing by myself. I want to just be able to open up a file and write some OpenGL code, and then have maybe some utility libraries around as well, like for things like loading shaders. But I want something where I can just play around with OpenGL. That's kind of what this base library is, and I'm going to release that on GitHub and everything. And there'll be a video on like how I made it and what it contains and everything, probably next week. But my plan with that is to be like, okay, well, batch rendering. Let's take that. Let's kind of start with this blank canvas of OpenGL-ness, which is kind of this base library, and then add stuff onto that. And then that's pretty much going to be, great, because that's all that project will be, all that video will be, is just going from nothing to just having a little bit of batch rendering using OpenGL commands. Everything's visible, and then when the code gets published, it's kind of all there, right? There's no kind of like, okay, well, I have to go through all this engine code to figure out how to integrate, because integrating and designing a system is two very different things, and I guess I kind of want to emphasize that. So I'm really excited to kind of bring back that OpenGL series, and then hopefully next week, if not the week after, I want to actually make that batch rendering episode in the OpenGL series. It's kind of the standalone batch rendering episode, and then we're going to tie in the game engine series and be like, okay, now that we know how this works, let's tie this into the game engine series, and let's actually integrate this into Hazel, because that's a whole different ball game. And that's kind of in a way what we've been doing with all of like these libraries. We've been taking stuff and integrating them into Hazel, and that's my probably my preferred way to do things, just because it tends to just get really complicated if you want to teach something in a huge engine, right? And I'm sure that makes sense to a lot of you as well. And that's only going to get worse as time goes on. So I've kind of been just thinking about how we can make this better. Alright, so that being said, that's what the OpenGL series is going to do. As we get into more graphics things, because I want to... There's a bunch of things that I want to do for the Game Engine series. Mac and Linux is going to come very soon. I really want to get that done within the next month or so, because the earlier we do that, pretty much the better. And also, I know that a lot of people have been asking for it, so Mac and Linux is going to happen. Continuous integration, and things like, maintaining a repository with issues and tracking and stuff like that. Let me know what you think about that, and if you want to see a lot of that. I'm not sure how many of you are actually interested in the kind of the maintenance, the DevOps, I guess, side of the Game Engine series, right? Or if you're just purely interested in the C++ code, which is fine. Just let me know in the comments. But I do want to include at least one video on CI or something like that, because I want to get that up and running as well. And of course, I need to show everything. I want to show everything that I'm doing. I don't want anything to kind of be behind the scenes. So that's something that will happen. And then in general, the area or the place that I want to take the Game Engine series to is a very art-focused place. And that's what I mean by that is I want Hazel to be something primarily to begin with that lets you create art, right? So in other words, I want the renderer to be really good, and that's why we're focusing on that first. Now, let's picture like a scene. I want Hazel to be something that you can use to make a beautiful scene with all the kind of latest graphics features, but then also it needs the building blocks to actually create a level, for example, and then save it and serialize it and whatever. That's going to be step one in the grand plan, but then there's also the interactivity kind of section. So in other words, we need like a scripting language to be able to make a game like that kind of Flappy Bird clone that I made, which was the game that I made in an hour using Hazel, right? I'll link the video up there. There's two parts to this. I really just want to make it, on one hand I want to make Hazel like this kind of 3D rendering masterpiece, right, in which you can create 3D scenes and stuff, but then I also want to obviously make it so that we can make a quick game like Flappy Bird in Hazel very, very easily, and that was the point of making that game in an hour, to kind of see, to see what exactly it would take and what we need to improve in Hazel to make that a lot easier. So that's, there's this kind of fork in the road, and I want to take it to both places. I obviously can't. So let me know what your thoughts are about that, if you would rather see kind of interaction or if you just want to dive into 3D graphics. What will probably end up happening is on the development branch, I'll probably do both because I've already gone down that 3D graphics route. And there's other things like Vulkan, for example. I added in Vulkan to Hazel as well, which I was going to release for patrons, and I still am, definitely this month. I just want to polish up the code a little bit because it's not completely finished, and I don't want people to take bad examples or anything like that. But I've done stuff like that as well. There's a lot of experiments that I have going on that I do want to share more, maybe in the form of vlogs or something like that. And then obviously there's the C++ series, which is the other big series on my channel, which I'm just going to continue doing because that's never going to end. There's nothing to really be like, okay, I've covered all of C++. That's impossible. We have C++ 20 coming out. So everything, of course, is changing and everything's getting more complicated, which is great. But there's a lot of stuff going on. And then I also mentioned that other kind of fourth tier of things where I just want to have I've made videos in the past about how to be productive, for example. I want to continue doing kind of vlog style videos like that as well. So we'll see how this kind of fits in. But anyway, I don't want to ramble on here forever. I think I've made my point. Let me know in the comments below what it is that you want to see, what makes you excited, what interests you the most. I'm sure this won't be our last video talking about something like that. The Game Engine series, officially, I wanted to bring it back next week. However, if I end up doing the OpenGL batch rendering video, then treat that as part of the Game Engine series, really, because those concepts are then going to be integrated into the Game Engine series. So that will definitely be next week. I think I've said it all. Hope you guys had a wonderful new year, and hope you're as excited about this year as I am, because it's 2020, it's the start of a new decade. Let's go ahead and make some really cool stuff. I will see you guys later. Goodbye.